a powerful CEO publicly mocks a black janitor in front of his entire staff, reducing her to tears and reminding everyone of her place. But what he didn't know was that the woman he ridiculed held a secret that would turn his world upside down. The revelation didn't just shock him, it cost him everything. Subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're watching from, because you won't believe how this story unfolds. The sprawling glass headquarters of Griffin Industries gleamed under the morning sun, a testament to wealth, power, and modern corporate ambition. Inside its walls, employees moved with purpose, their polished shoes clicking on marble floors, and the faint hum of industry buzzed in the air. At the top of this corporate empire sat Elliot Griffin, the CEO and founder, a man feared and revered in equal measure. Elliot Griffin was the embodiment of success. Tall, imposing, and impeccably dressed in tailored suits, he had built his multi-billion-dollar company from the ground up. His achievements were splashed across business magazines, and his ruthlessness in the boardroom was legendary. To his employees, he was an untouchable force, a man who brooked no nonsense and demanded absolute perfection. But Elliot wasn't just demanding, he was cold. To him, the company was a finely tuned machine, and every employee was simply a cog. If you didn't fit, you were replaced. And those at the bottom of the ladder? They didn't even register on his radar, unless, of course, they inconvenienced him. That morning, Elliot stepped into the building's expansive lobby, his assistant trailing behind him, with a clipboard full of schedules and meeting notes. As usual, he barely acknowledged the employees who greeted him. His focus was on the day ahead. A major investor was flying in from overseas, and Elliot was determined to seal the deal. But just as he strode toward the elevators, he spotted something, or rather, someone, that stopped him in his tracks. Near the lobby entrance, Maya, one of the building's janitors, was on her hands and knees, scrubbing a stubborn coffee stain from the floor. Maya was a petite black woman in her early 30s, with a quiet, unassuming presence. Her uniform was crisp, and despite the menial nature of her job, she carried herself with dignity. To Elliot, however, she was nothing more than a nuisance in his perfectly orchestrated morning. "Hey!" he barked, his voice cutting through the noise of the lobby. Maya looked up, startled, her cleaning rag still in hand. "Yes, sir?" "What are you doing? This is the main entrance. This floor should have been spotless before I got here." Elliot's tone dripped with irritation, and his words echoed, drawing the attention of nearby employees. Maya straightened, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, Mr. Griffin. Someone spilled coffee a few minutes ago, and I don't want excuses," Elliot interrupted, waving her off dismissively. "Do you realize how unprofessional this looks? What kind of image does it give to our clients if they walk in and see this mess?" "I understand," Maya said softly, lowering her gaze. "Do you?" Elliot shot back. "Because it doesn't seem like it. Maybe if you took more pride in your work, we wouldn't have these problems." By now, a small crowd of employees had gathered at a respectful distance, their eyes darting between Elliot and Maya. The tension in the air was palpable. Maya clutched her rag tightly, her knuckles white. She wanted to respond, to defend herself, but she knew better. In her position, talking back to the CEO wasn't an option. It would only make things worse. Elliot, noticing the attention, seemed to relish the moment. "This is a professional environment," he continued, his voice rising. "If you can't handle something as simple as keeping the floors clean, maybe this isn't the job for you." A murmur rippled through the onlookers, a mix of discomfort and silent outrage. Maya's eyes glistened, but she refused to let the tears fall. "I'll do better," she said quietly, her voice steady, despite the lump in her throat. See that you do, Elliot snapped, before turning on his heel and heading for the elevator. What Elliot didn't know, and what none of the employees realized, was that Maya was far more than just a janitor. She wasn't even supposed to be working that day. Maya had taken on the cleaning role temporarily, stepping in for a co-worker who had fallen ill. Her real role in the company was hidden, known only to a select few at the very top. Maya was the majority shareholder of Griffin Industries, having inherited a substantial stake in the company after her late father, one of the original investors, passed away. She had kept her involvement low profile, preferring to observe the company's inner workings without drawing attention to herself. Her father had always taught her that true leadership wasn't about titles or appearances. It was about understanding every aspect of the business, from the boardroom to the break room. And so, Maya had made it her mission to see the company from all angles, often taking on roles that allowed her to interact with employees at every level. But Elliot had no idea who she really was. To him, she was invisible, just another cog in the machine. The humiliation in the lobby lingered in Maya's mind long after Elliot had disappeared into the elevator. Her hands trembled as she returned to her cleaning supplies, pretending not to notice the sympathetic glances from employees passing by. Maya wasn't just embarrassed, she was furious. But she took a deep breath and reminded herself why she was here. This wasn't the first time she'd witnessed Elliot's arrogance, but it was the first time he'd targeted her directly. She had spent weeks quietly observing the inner workings of Griffin Industries, watching how Elliot ran his empire. The man who proudly touted himself as a self-made leader treated his employees like tools, his leadership driven by fear rather than respect. Maya had held back for a long time, but today was the breaking point. It was time for Elliot Griffin to learn the hard way who she really was. Later that morning, Elliot strutted into the boardroom for the company's quarterly shareholder meeting. The room was a testament to his success. Glass walls overlooking the city skyline, sleek leather chairs, and a massive table that seemed to radiate power. The company's top executives and board members were seated around the table, flipping through the meeting agenda. Elliot, as usual, commanded the room's attention with his mere presence. "All right," he said briskly, taking his seat at the head of the table. "Let's get started. I don't have all day." As the meeting commenced, Elliot began his usual routine of dominating the discussion, boasting about the company's profits and berating anyone who dared to suggest alternative strategies. But then, just as he was about to launch into a speech about future investments, the door to the boardroom opened. Maya stepped inside. The executives exchanged confused glances, some recognizing her from the lobby incident earlier that day. Elliot's expression twisted with annoyance. "What is she doing here?" he demanded, glaring at his assistant. The assistant fumbled nervously, avoiding eye contact with both Elliot and Maya. Mr. Griffin, she has clearance to be here." "Clearance?" Elliot barked, his voice incredulous. "She's a janitor." Maya stepped forward, her composure calm, but commanding. "Actually, Mr. Griffin, I think you'll find I'm a little more than that." The tension in the room was thick as Maya placed a thick folder on the table in front of Elliot. Her name was printed neatly on the cover. Maya Thomas, majority shareholder. Elliot stared at the folder, his brow furrowed in confusion. "What is this?" he snapped, flipping it open. Inside were documents confirming Maya's ownership stake in Griffin Industries, contracts, legal papers, and letters of appointment that made it clear she wasn't just a minor player. She was the single largest shareholder in the company. I inherited my father's shares in Griffin Industries after his passing, Maya explained, her voice steady and authoritative. He believed in this company, and so do I. That's why I've spent the last few weeks observing how it's being run, from the ground level. Elliot's face turned pale. This is some kind of joke, he said, though his voice wavered. It's no joke, one of the board members interjected, glancing at Maya with newfound respect. Ms. Thomas's ownership has been verified. She has every right to be here, and to make decisions regarding the company. Elliot looked around the room, hoping for support, but the expressions on his colleagues' faces told him he was alone. Maya stepped closer, her gaze locked on Elliot's. You love to talk about professionalism, Mr. Griffin, she said, her tone sharp. But today in the lobby, you showed me exactly how little respect you have for the people who keep this company running. Do you think humiliating someone in front of their peers is the mark of a good leader? Elliot opened his mouth to respond, but Maya cut him off. Do you know why my father invested in this company? Because he believed in people. He believed that a company's strength came from treating its employees with dignity and respect. Clearly, that philosophy has been lost under your leadership. The room was silent, the board members watching the exchange with a mix of shock and quiet satisfaction. Maya straightened, her calm demeanor unshaken. As the majority shareholder, I have the authority to make changes to this company's leadership. Effective immediately, you are no longer the CEO of Griffin Industries. Elliot's jaw dropped. You can't do this, he shouted, rising to his feet. I built this company. This is my legacy. You built this company on the backs of people you refuse to acknowledge, Maya said firmly. And legacies aren't built on fear. They're built on respect, something you clearly don't understand. The board members nodded in agreement, some even smiling faintly. Elliot, realizing he was outnumbered, sank back into his chair, his face a mask of defeat. With Elliot removed from power, Maya took the helm of Griffin Industries. Her first order of business was addressing the company's toxic culture. She implemented policies to improve employee well-being, including better wages, more inclusive hiring practices, and leadership training that emphasized empathy and respect. Under Maya's leadership, the company thrived. Its reputation transformed from one of corporate ruthlessness to a model of integrity and innovation. As for Elliot, his departure was swift and quiet. Stripped of his title and authority, he faded into the background, a cautionary tale of arrogance and entitlement. Elliot Griffin thought his power was untouchable, his position unshakable. But Maya's quiet strength and sense of justice proved that leadership isn't about status or domination. It's about respect, compassion, and valuing the people who make success possible. This story reminds us that arrogance and prejudice will always meet their reckoning. Maya's courage not only transformed a company, but showed everyone that true power lies in humility and the ability to lift others up. What about you? Have you ever witnessed or experienced a moment where the tables turned on someone's cruelty or arrogance? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stories Unfolded for more tales of resilience, justice, and unexpected twists. Thank you for watching, and remember, kindness always prevails.